Fam, what's going on? It is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Could I get a roll tide inside the comment box? Good morning to everybody up on the show. Today is Wednesday, December 11th. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week, and I appreciate you guys being here so much today on the show. Today we are talking transfer portal news as it happens. We're going to open up talking about Coach Kalen DeBoer's hit rate in the transfer portal. All right, we got some weekend visitors, and it looks like things are certainly starting to heat up for Alabama in terms of the targets that Alabama is pursuing. Some good news on KC Concepcion, as well as Luke Haas and Kelby Collins. All three will be coming in. I believe Alabama probably in good spots for each of those guys, and rightfully so. So I appreciate you guys being here. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about college football news as it happens right here on the show. We have 108 on the show. I appreciate you guys being here. If you could just take a minute, hit the thumbs up. It helps the video's performance, and I appreciate you guys being here so much. And I I like to always open up the show just talking about gratitude, right? And just being here, being in the present. Really grateful to be able to have a platform like this to talk Alabama football. And I just, if you're going through something out there, like keep on pushing through and be grateful for the things you got in front of you. We also have T up in the house. T.
Good morning, everyone.
We got T in the house. Producing, just finished. She has all the masters. She has 2 master's degrees now. So we proud of T up in the house, part of the Undefeated. And we start off talking about the transfer portal hit rate. And I wanted to open up with this because I felt it was fitting now that all the news is kind of around transfer portal, right? Every single thing we do, transfer portal this, and this is the time of year, right? 'Tis the season. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, how did Coach Kalen DeBoer do in the transfer portal when he first got here? And one of the things that Coach Kalen DeBoer had to do when he first got to Alabama was, number one, priorities was make sure that Ryan Williams signed. He did that, right? Bama Moore, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Big Chevy, Patriot Life, Ron Self, what's going on? Jay Bake, DJ Gray, what's up, man? Appreciate you being here. Jeff, what's going on? I see you inside the Undefeated as well. And the first thing that he did was he got Ryan Williams to sign. And then he also got Noah Carter, right? Those were kind of like the end pieces on the class. And then what he did right after that was he went right into the transfer portal and started working on immediate needs. And what was the most amazing thing, and I think when we kind of look back in hindsight at Coach Kalen DeBoer, is he went directly for the biggest need that Alabama needed, which was the center position. Ironically, this year, Seth McLaughlin is up for the Remington Award. He might win the best center in the country. Clearly, he's improved from when he was here at Alabama. But the first guy that he brought in was a center. And then after that, he brought in, I think, Austin Mack, Jeremy Bernard, a couple guys. And then this is in total, when the transfer portal was done, these are the guys that he brought in. So now that we've had, an opportunity, 12 games to kind of look back at how those transfers fared, I think he had a really high hit rate. Some of these guys are reserves, right? Guys who we really haven't seen step up. But when you look back, he brought in guys that played. And when you look to the transfer portal targets that are coming in this weekend, and we'll talk about those guys in just a minute, whether it be Luke Haas, KC Concepcion, Kelby Collins, he's going into the transfer portal for guys to play. And I think there's 2 parts of recruiting. There's recruiting and building the foundation, which is your recruiting class. But the guys who are transfer targets are usually guys who come in that are going to be eventual starters for this coming season. So Patriot Life, always taking care of the family. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for continuing to help us build that community, the fan funder right here on Bama Football on YouTube. But let's kind of go one by one and talk about the transfers before we start talking about the transfer portal targets and other news items right here on Bama Football on YouTube. And remember, in the evening time, we've been experimenting with the evening show because I know people can't always make the morning show. So 7:30 has somewhat been a comfortable spot for us. So stay tuned for that. Austin Mack came in, and I think he was, clearly a reserve guy. I don't think there was anybody that thought he would come in and fight for the starting job with Jalen Milroe, right? Like that wasn't ever going to be the case. But I think long term, Austin Mack is a guy that fits Coach Kalen DeBoer's system. He's a big pocket-style quarterback. He can move around a little bit, but I think he's a guy that Coach Kalen DeBoer hopes can operate the offense when all is said and done. If you look back at his high school highlight tape, you'd be really impressed. He's out of California. And then when you look to just the small sample size that he was able to do, and work with this year, he came in and threw a touchdown pass. And the ball had a little bit of wobble to it, but it was a nice placed ball to Rico Scott, freshman to freshman. He was a redshirt freshman, but connecting with Rico Scott for a touchdown, and I liked it. You also have Josh Cuevas. Now, Josh Cuevas is a tight end who came in from Washington. And while we didn't really, anticipate, I don't know how I felt about Josh Cuevas. I was excited about him because he had a lot of production. And I think even, talking to some people around the university, Josh Cuevas was quickly amazed just the talent level when he got here to Tuscaloosa. But, man, that guy was an absolute player. And while I don't, you can consider him like a off-the-bench type guy, he had a really nice season. He caught a nice touchdown pass against Wisconsin, and I think going forward, he's going to be possibly a key contributor for the 2025 offense. He has a lot of playmaking ability. He really does. Jeremy Bernard came in, and I think you could argue that he was the best offensive transfer, like true transfer, if you don't if you don't count Caden Proctor. He had a wonderful season. I don't know. I know there's a lot of people asking if Jeremy Bernard is going to go to the NFL. That is one of our biggest questions as well as we move forward. But Jeremy Bernard was it. He's a hell of a wide receiver. A lot better than I thought. And listen, Jeremy Bernard has been a lot of places. I believe he started out at Michigan State. Then he went to Washington. And now he's at Alabama. So look, the transfer portal is highly in effect, but he came here and had a wonderful season. Caden Proctor, we listed him as a transfer because he did go to Iowa just for a little while and then came back. Look, yes or no inside the comment box, did Caden Proctor improve year over year? I think hell yeah, he did. Compared to his freshman season, man, he was in some tight spots in 2023. He was kind of up and down. But he had some games where it just wasn't it. And he had to work on himself. But if you go back and assess Caden Proctor and the year that he had, I think he had a much better season than 2023. Parker Brailsford, wonderful addition. This year, how many times did we talk about a bad snap? Maybe like 2 or 3 times. Last season, this was an every single game type deal. Parker Brailsford, and guys on the offsides because he wasn't a Landon Dickerson or a Bradley Bozeman type guy. But Parker Brailsford, he held his own, and he has a very high Pro Football Focus rating. It's very important that Parker Brailsford returns for this next season. I don't think anybody's, under the assumption that he's going to go to the NFL, but that is a critical piece, is Parker Brailsford. The offense is going to be that much better with Parker Brailsford coming back, okay? And look, I'm setting it up because the hit rate. So DeBoer worked the transfer portal. I mean, all these guys we're talking about right now, you're happy that they're here, right? LT Overton, how about him? You know what? And we're going to do defensive superlatives here in a little bit. This guy, I didn't know that he was going to be this good. I think there was some people, I think it was Kane Womack earlier in the year was like, he's a 280-pound, badass or something like that. And he was. He was mean. He was nasty. He had some of the biggest hits of the year. My mic is going in and out. Test, test, test. Is my mic, you're breaking up? Huh. Let me try this different mic. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. All right, I just shut off that mic and I'm trying a different mic. How is the audio going? Huh, okay. All right. 1 2 3 1 2 3. Test, test, test. 1 2 3. 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3. All right. Should I start the whole show over? Just kidding. All right. Let me just rewind to Parker Brailsford. All right, so Parker Brailsford did an amazing job for Alabama this season, and I think what I was getting at is Parker Brailsford is going to do an amazing job next season because of the fact that he already knows Coach Kalen DeBoer's offense. He did really well this year. I think he's kind of one of the underrated guys, almost like an unsung hero, which is fine, but Parker Brailsford was a lot better. And I was talking about LT Overton. Out of all guys that came in on the defensive side of the ball, I had no idea.
All right, if you guys are having audio issues, maybe try leaving.
Yeah. All right, let's do.
And yeah, they're saying closing YouTube and reopening it seems to get it. I think it's probably.
All right, you guys do a quick refresh on your screen. I'm gonna do a quick reset on my side. We'll take like a 1 minute commercial break and then we'll continue. So be back in like 1 minute. Be back in like 1 minute. 1 minute.
Yeah, they're saying they reloaded it and audio is fine. It's YouTube.
All right, test. How we doing, everybody? Is that better? All right, test. We good? Give me a thumbs up if we got good audio. And I guess if you reset the app, we're good. All right, just leave the live and then come back in. All right, cool. Everybody's saying it looks like it's better. All right, cool. It's all good. The thing about it, I think when I was younger, things like that used to really stress me out. But I think that Keon Keeley in the portal, I didn't see that. Did that come out? I didn't see it yet. But one thing that I realized, test 1 2, JL saying it's not. All right, I think it's YouTube. I ain't see anything on Keon Keeley, so we'll keep you posted as news happens. One thing that I was talking about, kind of the transfer portal hit rate as we continue, and I was just basically saying that LT Overton had an amazing season. In terms of, I didn't know he was going to be that good. He had an amazing season. A lot better than I thought. He had some of the biggest hits, and I think when we do defensive superlatives here on the back end, he might be the transfer of the year on the defensive side of the ball. I think he's going to have to compete with Damani Jackson. I think, when we go back and forth between Damani and LT, I think we're going to figure out like who the transfer portal is. Blunt conversation. I got you, man. We're rolling. Deshaun Jones was another guy who came in and was a reserve. He started playing a little bit more on the back end of the season just because of the lack of depth. But, man, Damani Jackson. And so Damani Jackson was not necessarily a Coach Kalen DeBoer transfer. He was a Nick Saban transfer, but I listed him on here as he was a transfer. Imagine this defense without Damani Jackson. Yo. And imagine this defense with Damani Jackson and Trey Amos. Trey Amos, remember, hit the transfer portal to go to Ole Miss. Man, that would have been a hell of a duo. But the thing, with that said, Xavier Brown did a great job battling as a freshman. And Keon Sabb, he did really well. I remember the first game, he had 2 interceptions in the first quarter, right? And then he got injured. The craziest thing about Keon Sabb is he played with like a fractured bone or something like that against Tennessee. King Mack, I don't know how I felt about him. And I think we're missing Cam Howard from this graphic. He didn't really play. He was a reserve. And then you had Graham Nicholson, who I still felt kind of, I didn't feel like I didn't have the confidence like I felt with Will Reichert. You get what I'm saying? I felt he was like a step below Will Reichert. And the crazy thing was he beat Will Reichert head-to-head for the Lou Groza Award a year before that. It kind of still felt strange. And you know what? On the back end of the season, if Keon Sabb was to somehow get healthy, I think there's a lot of us, mostly all of us, that would want Bray Hubbard to stay on the field. And I think when you look to next year, and we'll talk about the safeties and the defensive backs today in terms of like the roster management as we usually do, your safeties are going to be Bray Hubbard and Keon Sabb because Malachi Moore is gone. Your Husky will be back in Devontae Smith. Your corners, if Damani stays, you got Damani and you got Xavier Brown. Now, if Damani goes, there's an open corner spot. I would assume it's maybe Jalen Ibakwe. We'll get more to that. All right. In the news, T, if you could read this out, Jalen Milroe won the William Campbell Trophy. Basically, it's like the academic Heisman. Look, I'm going to say this about Jalen Milroe. I think the majority of people right now, if you asked kind of a straw poll, if you would want Jalen Milroe to go somewhere else. And I think a great majority would say yes, either to the NFL or transfer, whatever. I don't think that any of us could ever be critical of his character. Now, and I say that because Shadori Sanders, I think people could be critical of his character. I don't know Shadori Sanders. I only see what you guys see like on social media. But I have never really seen Jalen Milroe in terms of character, people like criticize his character, right? A really great ambassador of the University of Alabama. So last night, he won a significant award. I think the last Alabama player to win it, I have to go back a couple years. Do past winners after you read this out. I'll look this up as you read this out, T.
So the William V. Campbell, formerly the Vincent DePaul Dratty Trophy, is awarded by the National Football Foundation to the American college football player with the best combination of academics, community service, and on-field performance. It is considered by many to be the academic Heisman and is nicknamed as such.
I think it was it Barrett Jones?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so I think the last person to win it from the University of Alabama was Barrett Jones. So anyways, won a significant award last night. And we're all waiting on like the big news, whenever this announces, that Jalen Milroe is going or he's coming back, whatever the case is. So he will announce that either through his agent or, through himself. I'm sure his social media, followings. And who knows? There's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL or a lot of organizations rather in the NFL that need quarterbacks, right? I mean, Jets, Raiders. I mean, shoot. If you had Will Levis, maybe even the Titans. I don't know. There's a lot of clubs. A lot of people are asking if your voice is AI generated.
Yeah, I've been thinking of setting up a 900 number.
T, I mean, you graduated? Do you? Okay, so with that said, former Alabama running back Damien Harris, he has a podcast and a YouTube channel as well that I think you guys should check out. Now, I'll say this about Damien Harris before AIT reads this out. Damien Harris, I knew that he would go to the media. I think at one point in time, he was going to work for the University of Alabama, being like the sideline guy. And then he got a gig with CBS. I knew he would go to the media. He speaks very eloquently. He is very polished, a really great dresser, right? He's dressed like this for a long time. And I think, sky's the limit. Now, he's been very critical of Alabama, and I think sometimes guys like this on a major national platform, they have to have a big voice, right? They have to say things that you don't agree with. He was critical of Coach Kalen DeBoer's system, and he was critical of Malachi Moore after the Vanderbilt game for not holding the standard for his on-the-field play, right? Very sharp individual, play with the New England Patriots. He has a platform. He's a member of the media. Here's Damien Harris, what he had to say recently on his podcast. T, could you read it out?
Yeah, he says, I don't think he should go to the NFL draft because I don't think he's ready. I think he should hit the transfer portal, go somewhere, get a fresh start. Because I don't think this marriage between him and Kalen DeBoer, it doesn't look like it's working. Not for either person. Not saying it's either party's fault, just sometimes relationships just don't work.
And that's Damien Harris, former Alabama running back, now with CBS, has a podcast talking about Jalen Milroe. Not that he should enter the NFL draft, but saying that he should transfer out. So, you know what? I was thinking about this, and this is a pretty good take on the bottom side, saying that the marriage between him and Coach Kalen DeBoer right now, like sometimes relationships don't work out. And I think in that sense, I think Coach Kalen DeBoer, knowing the athlete that he is and what he brings to the table every single Saturday, what are we going to do? I mean, that was the best guy for the job in the quarterback room. But I think now that he has other guys that have had a year to work under his philosophy, and you got Keelan Russell coming in, there's other guys that can operate the offense at a higher level. Damien Harris is arguing right here that, or at least saying that he's not ready for the NFL. He played in the NFL himself. But he's saying he should transfer. If he transfers, you know, On3 has these transfer portal rankings. He will be the most highly sought out player in this transfer portal. I think we all agree with that. Now, let's play two sides of the coin, right? So if he does come back, I think players transfer because it's heavy offense on Milroe, right? It's just Milroe, Ryan Williams, Jam Miller, and Jeremy Bernard if he comes back. And that's it. It's the same type of offense. And what's going to change? Nothing's going to change. Milroe is Milroe, right? Now, if he leaves and he goes to the NFL, where's he going to be taken in the NFL draft? The last thing that I saw is Mel Kiper has him on the big board as number 3. I have not seen an updated big board, right? Other side of the coin, why did Caleb Odom, why did Kobe Prentice, why did Kendrick Law leave? Two sides of the coin, right? Maybe those guys are kind of processed out, you could say. If you've seen this guy, KC Concepcion, I'm telling you, as much as I love Kobe Prentice, I think that this guy, KC, is better. And I hate always saying that the next guy is better, but if this guy, KC, if he decides to announce that he's committing to Alabama, he's a better slot receiver than Kobe Prentice. He is. And he's better than Cole Adams, who we love, okay? And I get it. Inside the comment box. Milroe is it's a very polarizing topic, right, that we're always talking about. I appreciate it, Jimmy. So I think that Coach Kalen DeBoer, based on the quarterback room that he had here and based that he just got here, this was the quarterback that was best suited to go as far as Alabama could go. And the best that they went this year was 9-3, which is not the standard, right? Coach Kalen DeBoer, now going forward, has to have a quarterback that can operate his offense at the highest level. But I don't think that you can have the same type of offensive performance this next year, right? So I have I've said, and I have receipts on me that say that he's going to the NFL 100%, because what's going to change? I don't think anything is going to change. And he could develop at another place. He could develop in the NFL. I am always going to stick to my guns that I felt that Jalen Hurts developed more at Oklahoma than he did here at Alabama. And I was just watching him here on ESPN. Who wants to deal with Jalen Hurts in the NFL? Not a lot of teams. So brings a lot to the table, but I think like Damien Harris is saying at the bottom, it's nobody's fault. Relationships sometimes don't work. And in this particular case of Kalen DeBoer and Jalen Milroe, I think it's time to part ways. And this happens, all right? But Jalen Hurts did change. All right, so anyways, check out Damien Harris' podcast. There's a lot of former Alabama players that are now, have analyst spots, stuff like this. I personally have always respected the job that Damien Harris has done. Does a good job. Happy for him. All right, before we get to some more transfer portal hits, how are you guys feeling about, T, if you could add this inside the comment box, how are you guys feeling about Bill Belichick coming to the NFL, or coming to college football? He's going to be the head football coach at North Carolina. You're talking about a 6-time Super Bowl champ, right? 3 times coach of the year in the NFL. Never coached in college football before. And now he's coming to college football. I see you guys inside the comment box. Max it right away is saying Belichick will be a disaster. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting experiment. I mean, the way that I feel right now that coaching in the NFL is probably easier than coaching in college football because of the lack of guardrails in college football. Like this crazy transfer portal. Okay, this is really important, okay? Too old? Look, somebody said this. It was what is the guy's name? Brooks Austin. Okay, Brooks Austin. All right. He runs a great YouTube channel. I'm sure you guys have seen him. He tweeted this out. He was like, for anybody wondering about if he can recruit, I guess Bill Belichick is dating like a 24-year-old. So he's like, the guy can recruit. He said it. He came up with it. It had like 500,000 followers. Check out Brooks Austin's YouTube channel. Does an amazing job. I saw Scott Frost back at Central Florida, and Gus Malzahn is now the offensive coordinator for Florida. I know this is crazy, right? So Bill Belichick, head football coach, North Carolina, he said that his program is going to operate like an NFL leaping pad. ACC, you can win in the ACC. Bama should go to the ACC. Lil says it's a publicity stunt. Yeah. I don't know. But you know who was the head coach, the interim head coach for a little while at North Carolina was Freddie Kitchens. The former, he was the former Alabama player, right? Yeah. Byron's in here saying that Keelan Russell won the National Player of the Year. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, not surprised to see Alabama's 5-star recruit winning national awards. That's the thing. That this guy coming in, and we hype up freshmen like you've never seen before. We do it all the time.
So somebody in the comment box was asking if you saw what was happening with Marshall in the transfer portal. Have you seen this?
No.
So apparently the entire team could enter the transfer portal.
Is it because Charles Huff is probably leaving?
I'm not.
So the last that I saw, the only thing that I saw from Marshall is that Charles Huff, that name sounds familiar, right? He was the running backs coach here at Alabama under Coach Saban, did an amazing job. Now, he took a job at Marshall, and now I think he's in play to be the head football coach at Southern Miss.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what it's saying.
So
basically, the entire Marshall football team is entering the transfer portal, which sets up for an interesting potential move. Yeah.
Can you imagine if Marshall just ends up going to Southern Miss?
Yeah, well, that's what they're saying. Could all of these guys follow him to Southern Miss?
Okay, look, yes, Keelan Russell is an early enrollee. Okay, so important stuff right here regarding the transfer portal, okay? When does the transfer portal close? Demetrius, yes, Keelan Russell is an early enrollee, yes. Yeah, Jay Bake, from what I see, Bill Belichick to North Carolina. From my understanding, so this is very interesting what I'm about to say.